And here we are at today's location, St Benet's Church, known as the Welsh Church. St Benet's traces its history back to the year 1111, when a church was built on the site dedicated to St Benedict. Over time the name became St Benet's Paul's Wharf, after the hive where the church is located. To the west of the site was the Watergate of Baynard's Castle, which is referenced in the biographies of Queen Anne Boleyn and Lady Jane Grey. Both church and castle were destroyed in the Great Fire of London of 1666. It was redesigned by architect Sir Christopher Wren and reopened in 1683. The builder was Edward Strong the Elder. On the 2nd of March 1706, Henrietta Holbart married Charles Howard, 9th Earl of Suffolk, a captain in the 6th Inniskillen Dragoons there. Henrietta Howard subsequently became mistress to the future King George II. The church narrowly escaped destruction and was saved in the late 19th century when its parish was merged with St Nicholas Cole Abbey. After an energetic campaign by its supporters, Queen Victoria in 1879 granted the church to Welsh Anglicans for services. St Benet's continues as the London Metropolitan Welsh Church, with its services conducted in Welsh with English translations provided. Right, that's its history. So there's that, and then we shall go round. When we get into the church, I'm not quite sure. It's around this way. I think it may be. Yeah, I think so. So, Wharf. Well, we shall find out. Yeah. Church watchers are here today, and the church is open. So, in we shall go, eh? And in we go. It's up into its belfry. Some information for kids there. Oh, it's in Welsh anyway, so I will show it, but I can't understand much of it. In we go. This is a very impressive one, this. Quite original too. Oh wow, that's lovely. I should get further back to look at that.
I've never followed it up when you do such. Miss, no, this isn't the first one. But I fear really. It's dear Jochen who set it up. He was killed in the car. Well, in fact, and then it was taken over by someone called Lee.
Separate photos of the church and monuments will be available. Oh, look, a harmonium. It still retains its original altar rail and communion table. Inigo Jones. Possibly two of the most widely known facts about St Benet's Paul's Wharf is it's the Welsh Church in London, and that Inigo Jones is buried here. It is generally assumed that the second fact follows the first, but the architect died in 1652, and although its Welsh links may go back many centuries, St Benet's did not officially become Welsh Episcopal Church until the order of the council in 1879. So why was this man described by the architectural historian Marcus Binney as Britain's first truly classical architect, buried in a comparatively obscure church of St Benet's? The first reason is that specifically he requested this as his parents were buried there. His father, also called Inigo, was a cloth maker who was living in or near Cloth Fair in Smithfield at the time of his son's birth in 1573. The registers of St Bartholomew the Less record the boy's baptism there on July the 19th, 1573. The family may have moved the short distance to St Benet's parish in the 1580s, as Inigo Jones, will dated 5th of April 1597, asks my body to be buried in the chancel of Sinet Benet, and near to my wife, as may be. But there could be a second reason. The architect made his will in 1650, during the Commonwealth at this time, when the prayer book's order for the burial of the dead was prescribed, and the burial had to be without ceremony. Jones's will instructed that my body to the earth be buried in the church of St Benet's Paul's Wharf, and for the expenses of my funeral I do appoint £100, and for the erecting of a monument in memory of me, to be made of white marble and set up in the church aforesaid, I do likewise appoint £100. This seems rather extravagant for this time. While the revolutionary regime was unable to enforce uniformity, London was mainly Puritan, and it may have been prudent to build such a monument in a small and out-of-the-way church. The neighbouring St Peter's Paul's Wharf, destroyed in the Great Fire of London 1666, was very much frequented by the nobility and gentry previous to the Restoration, as the rector and church wardens continued to have the liturgy for the Church of England constantly used and the sacrament probably administered. Malcolm London, Redivium, Volume 2, 1805. The same might have been true as its close neighbour, St Benet's. Whatever reasons, Inigo Jones was buried in St Benet's on the 26th of June, 1652, and when the churchwarden's accounts record 6 shillings and 2 pence were paid for the knell of Mr Inigo Jones as a bell ring. Some time later the monument was erected by his executor and pupil John Webb, himself an architect and related by marriage to Inigo Jones. Visitors today are disappointed that the only reference to Inigo Jones in the church is a small tablet put up after 1879. The medieval church was of course destroyed in 1666, and the fire damaged the monument, which was never replaced. It stood until 1670, when Anthony Wood, 1632 to 1695, recorded in his Athenaeum Oximenes, and I can't pronounce that he had seen it against the north wall with an epitaph. Notwithstanding the violence of the flames which destroyed the church, the greatest part else of the city of London, and beginning in September 1666, I copied off thence 4 years after, viz. 1670. He then gives the wording which exactly reproduced the present tablet. Woodworked closely with the antiquarian John Aubrey, 1626 to 1697, who in his brief lives, probably written in the 1680s, made a rough sketch of the monument. This last known sighting of it, he noted that 2 bas-reliefs of Jones's most celebrated works in the banqueting house on Whitehall and the portico of St Paul's Cathedral. He added that Mr Marshall of Fetter Lane took away the bust, etc., here to his house, which see perhaps part still exists somewhere, waiting to be discovered. So where is the tablet to Inigo Jones, which I shall have to try and find? That's interesting, isn't it? I'll ask if I can't find it. I will go around and take separate pictures of the monuments. Look at that. That's a fine piece of work if ever there was one. Here's its baptistry and font and font cover. Got some old historical images and things there. I'll take some pictures of those. I'll ask about the Inigo Jones tablet. I asked, and here it is. Postum Mersus. The whole thing is in Latin. It was erected in 1878. Albert Alberiges. What's this? He rebuilt the King's White Palace, refers to Jones' masterpiece, the magnificent banqueting house in 1619 to 1622, which is now the only remnant of Westminster's erstwhile Palace of Whitehall. The rest began with major redevelopment of the old site from the 1530s and was demolished after a devastating fire in 1698. That's what destroyed the old Palace of Whitehall. Templum Divini Pauli Restauraviti. He restored St Paul's Cathedral and refers to the major works of decaying medieval complex which began in 1633 and culminated in the addition of a classical portico at the west end Its destruction in the Great Fire of London of 1666 cleared the way for the sublime work of Sir Christopher Wren in 1632 to 1723 and his office, who rebuilt the new cathedral in a restrained English Baroque between 1675 and 1711. St Benet's upper window now frame a splendid view of the cathedral from the south side of the nave gallery, where we'll be going in a minute. The antiquarian John Aubrey, 1626 to 1697, sketched Jones' monument after the Great Fire of 1666. He noted that as well as a bust and 2 obelisks, it featured reliefs, and each end portraying the buildings cited in the inscriptions, and the banqueting house and St Paul's portico. He also recorded that the monument stood at the north side of the church, but Jones was actually interred in the chancel, about the middle. Image below, courtesy of the Bodleian Library and University of Oxford. And that's what his memorial once looked like. Inigo Jones left a substantial £100 in his will, easily £2,000 today, relative to average earnings for a funeral expenses, which in that period could include memorial jewellery for those close friends and relations. He left another £100 for the erecting of a monument in the memory of me, and to be made of white marble in St Benet's Paul's Wharf, where his parents were buried. John Webb executed this commission and did much else to preserve his master's memory. Jones died unmarried and childless, with 3 sisters but no brothers surviving infancy. Lieutenant Colonel Inigo William Jones, 1806 to 1978, son of the Reverend Inigo William Jones, 1780 to 1809, was thus more likely a distant cousin than a direct descendant. How the Spanish name Inigo came into a London family with Welsh roots remains a complete mystery. So yeah, that is Inigo Jones. Very interesting. There will be some historical stuff at the end about that as well, of course. And what we cannot forget, in memory of all the officers of arms buried in this church, amongst whom are the following. And we start right in 1584 and we work our way down. I'll be moving away in a minute, but there'll be pictures, so enjoy those. The carving in here is absolutely beautiful. Oh look, I like the Welsh dragon candlesticks, they're brilliant. That's good. The carving on this is gorgeous, it really is. And that is where we are going up here. There is an interesting exhibition up here as well, so I'll take photographs of that for you. St Benet's Welsh Church. Get an amazing view from up here, I can tell you. start photographing some of these monuments while I'm up here. Which I've just been doing. And these poles hold on the arms and the Welsh flags. And I hope you all found this one interesting, ladies and gents. I shall now go around and take photographs. Oh look, you can see the organ from here. Hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for watching. Now for some historical images. Well, you got more or less the full history of the church in our opening scene. Now for some historical images. And although the foundation of the church dates from the year 1111, this is the earliest image I could find of St Benet's Welsh Church, and this dates from the 18th century. And as you can see by the tombstones within its graveyard, it did once have its own graveyard, which was occupied by tombs, which have been cleared away now, like many London churches. And here we see the architect, Sir Christopher Wren, with his pride and joy in the background, St Paul's Cathedral. And here we see the builder, Edward Strong the Elder. The church's main claim to fame is that it's the burial location of Inigo Jones. Here are his details. Inigo Jones is one of the greatest architects this country has ever known, and he's responsible for the introduction to England of Roman and Italian Renaissance architecture. And if you want to see some fine examples of his work, which are still with us today, go to the Queen's House in Greenwich. I've covered that, so if you can't go there, check out my videos. And also All Hallows Church by the Tower. Their font cover, a thing of stunning beauty, is by Inigo Jones. Sadly, Inigo's original memorial was lost along with the church in the Great Fire of London. Although he still lies buried underneath the church, the site of his original memorial was lost. But to the left here you can see what it looked like in this diagram. It had a bust and pillars to either side. Pause this if you want to read it, because I should be moving on now. And here is his, shall we say, newer memorial stone, and this was placed here by one of his descendants in the 5th of October 1878. And here we see for one last time the great Inigo Jones, painted by the great Anthony van Dyck. Here we see the church by H.E. Tidman in 1895, a lovely little watercolour. And St Benet's is the only survivor of 4 churches in the city that were dedicated to St Benet in medieval times. The other 3 are now lost churches. Here we see a nice bird's eye view of the church on Saturday the 23rd of August 1952. And note all the buildings that are around it, because if you go there today you could be forgiven for thinking that those buildings were taken out by the Second World War. And they were not, as we saw by our image just now, which was dated after the war. But this explains it. Above is an unusual sight of an open view of the church in June 1971. This clearance is not due to bomb damage, but the clearance of the site in order to build a new access road and erect a large office block. In 1994, in the grounds around the church, archaeological excavations took place, and this is just an example of several leather shoes and ankle boots that were found in a 10th century cesspit predating St Benet's Church. And what an amazing discovery these are. And the London soil preserves things pretty well. And these boots predate the church by some 700 years, going back to the 900s, so pretty much Saxon London. And St Benet's Church has also been the official church of the College of Arms, in which many of the officers of arms have been buried. And here is a list of them. And that, ladies and gents, concludes our coverage of St Benet's Welsh Church at Paul's Wharf. Hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for watching. There'll be quite a few photos of this one hitting the page as well soon.